Hello and welcome back to the MacGuffin Tapes. I'm Michael, one of the hosts of this podcast, and I'm joined here by my good friend Alla. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing fine.
I'm doing fine. Complaining a bit that you are feeling a bit old, I hear.
I am feeling old, but that's just the norm nowadays. Old and tired.
Well, fall is coming, so I get it that we're all feeling a bit, tired and the weather here in Europe brings us down a bit, even if we don't think that it has an effect. But yeah, weather is tough, at least for me.
Yep.
And where's our special correspondent, Dario?
Ooh, where is he indeed? I hope he's not in California that is falling off the face of the earth.
All right, that's a good one. I was thinking he was maybe talking to some stranger about maths and numbers.
Um, that can I can imagine that happening to Dario,
Yeah,
yes.
I could very well imagine that. I could totally see him talking to some stranger about any topic. He's the type of person that just talks to anyone about anything,
Really?
I
Okay.
think.
I think he would be surprised to know that that's the impression he gives.
Yeah, so our references were about the movie we are going to talk about today. That's The Life of Chuck,
Yes, indeed.
which is an adaptation of a novella by Stephen King and is directed by Mike Flanagan. So I think I might have suggested this movie. I came by it because shout out to Jake Hamilton, who is one of the best film um, film journalists from America, and he always does awesome interviews. And he's a huge Stephen King fan, and he recommended this movie, so I got curious. And I don't know how it was for you. I think I mentioned it to you, but what attracted you to this movie?
I mean, we saw the trailer once together, right? I think at least that's what I comes to mind that I saw the trailer while we were watching something else together. Um, I mean, I wouldn't say that I was necessarily attracted to watch this film. I don't mind watching it. I didn't mind watching it, and we will talk later about it. I'm not a huge fan of Stephen King. Um, I must say, I mean, of course, most of the time we know Stephen King as a horror writer, which is, I guess, a bit of a misconception. He definitely has a huge reputation as a horror writer, but he writes a lot of other things as well. And this film, and actually a lot of other very famous films that people may not even know are based on Stephen King, are, well, a testament to that. I must say, I enjoy films that are um, directed based on Stephen King stories and novels and novellas more so than I enjoy reading him. So maybe that's also the case here. I haven't read The Life of Chuck, but it is a small-ish, I guess, novella. It's a short story rather than something big like It or any other horror thing that is well known, like Shining.
Yeah. Oh, me too. I'm not. I think I've never even read a Stephen King book. Now I think, getting more into it, and I would be interested in reading one of his books. Actually, I have one on my list, which is about writing. So he wrote a book about writing, so I'm interested in reading that. But yeah, I'm knowing mostly for the movie adaptations. Actually, here, fun fact. Do you know which authors has the most movie adaptations? Like authors and which types of books are the
Probably
most
Stephen
adapted?
King, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, it's actually not Stephen King. He's actually third, I think. Mhm.
Oh, okay. Well, I just know that Stephen King is also a very prolific writer to begin
Yeah,
with, and a lot
yeah.
of films get made based on his stories. So which ones are they?
Any guesses?
I would just like I'm thinking, does it have to be proportionate to the amount of writing that these writers produced? Because
Yeah,
if
it's
if
an
someone wrote
indication.
just one book and it gets adapted into a film, then well, you made it. You made the list. But is that how it works or?
No, it's most adaptations, like per like different kinds of books.
No, I have no idea.
So I think
I mean,
number
you can,
two.
if you want me to guess a little bit, you can lead me a little bit
Okay,
towards what
okay.
they are. Are they like
Um,
oldish or are they more
yes,
modern?
yes,
Okay. Well, Shakespeare.
exactly. Shakespeare is number two,
Yeah, okay.
and then number one is not an author, but it's a text, let's say.
Ooh, a text. A, the Bible? I don't know.
Yes, yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Oh my God, that is surprising. To be
yeah.
fair, I wouldn't expect the Bible to be adapted into so many films.
Yeah, actually, I came by this also listening to a podcast. So shout out to the Cinephiles, a great movie podcast, and they recently did a show on Stephen King
Hmm.
because I think there is right now there is a movie out which is called, I think, isn't it The Long Walk or something along those
Hmm.
lines, The Walk, huh?
Hmm.
So they were talking about Stephen King and they mentioned the mentioned this fact, so I stole it from there, huh?
Hmm.
But yeah, I also was a bit surprised with the Bible. I wouldn't have thought that there are so many different, or that people that who watch movies are so into the Bible. But I guess okay, yeah, I
I
could
guess
see.
it depends. I mean, there could be all kinds of things that you can say have some biblical context to them, right? Maybe.
Yeah,
I to be honest, I also don't know enough about the Bible to judge which film can be considered based on it.
yeah, it's right. So with the Bible, I think like depends how you define it, like what counts as
Yeah,
an adaptation or not,
which
huh?
testaments and all that.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't
Stephen
know.
King definitely prolific author and has
I mean,
lots
he's
of
after Shakespeare.
yeah.
He made it in life, is clearly. No, I mean, I would say that my favorite film that is based on Stephen King, I have also read the book. I would say the book is pretty different to the film, um, is Secret Window with Johnny Depp. That's a movie that I actually rewatch pretty regularly, probably once a year at least. I have the urge to watch this film, and I actually recently saw it as well, just in summer, I think.
Mhm.
And I have read a few Stephen King books. Um, I think all of them, maybe with the exception of a few, were horror horror books. But I'm not a horror watcher, so I don't really watch horror anymore. And I guess that is the reason why I may not necessarily know a lot of his of the adaptations that are recent. So, for example, I haven't seen those films because, well, that's just not my kind of film to watch. Plus, that's also the reason why I don't know Mike Flanagan as a director because he is first and foremost a director of horror films.
Yeah, Stephen King, I haven't watched everything, but like the classic ones, like what's it like The Shining. What else would be a classic Stephen King adaptation?
The
Yeah, the other
Shining,
one, uh,
It,
It I have seen. Yeah.
the
What's
the Pet Cemetery,
that I haven't seen.
Misery, Carrie, The Shawshank Redemption. That would be
Yeah, that
one
I've seen.
of the
Yeah,
ones that are, I mean, not horror. Um, and well, Green Mile
yeah, I have seen
technically
it. Yeah.
may have some, I mean, some element to it that speaks to like, I don't know, not horror necessarily though, still.
Oh yeah, but I know what you mean. It's like difficult or tragic situations or extreme
Yeah.
situations. Yeah, yeah. The ones that I enjoyed most are maybe also his lighter movies. In this, like Shawshank Redemption, has some very humans or lighter moments. And then, what's the one called with the kids with the that find this body? Forget the
Ah,
name
yeah.
now.
Stand by Me.
Stand by Me. Yeah, that's probably my favorite one. I wanted to mention. I think another movie I like by a king is I think it's his son who wrote a short story which was turned into the movie The Black Phone. I think it came out a
Mm.
couple of years ago. So
Hmm.
that one I really enjoyed, and I think there's a second one coming this year or the next year. I'm not sure on exactly when, but yeah.
Hmm.
And maybe Mike Flanagan. I have watched some of his things, mostly his series. Yeah, yeah, like you mentioned, he does a lot of horror. What have I seen by him? Oh, actually, before the show, we're talking a bit about Netflix, and I was saying I would say I'm a supporter of Netflix. There are a lot of people who bash Netflix, like movie fans and connoisseurs and cinephiles that who say that Netflix puts a lot of trash out, let's say. And yeah, there are lots of movies that are a bit, I don't know, for a larger audience, and I don't know, don't hold up to the standards of cinephiles. But Mike Flanagan has two series which came out on Netflix. The one is Haunting of, actually maybe it's three series.
It's three, I
Haunting of,
think.
yeah, Haunting of Bly Manor, Haunting of Hill House, and then it's the other one with the kids. That series. I forget the name. Let me just
The
look it
Fall
up.
of the
Give me.
House of Usher there is as well,
Oh, Fall of the House of
which are,
Usher.
yeah, kind of all in the same fashion. At least the name is is very similar. That's why I would bundle them together.
Ah,
I
yeah, no, I
think The
was
Haunting of Hill, they're all based on something, right? They're all based on um books of, well, either short stories or novels, right?
that could very well be. Yeah. The other thing I was thinking of with teenage kids or kids, I haven't seen it, is The Midnight Club. And there is also Midnight Mass, which I really liked. Midnight Mass is about a small town, and then uh, a vampire arrives or appears.
Ooh,
And it's a very interesting take on
interested.
vampires. There were some things in there that I haven't seen anywhere else about vampires, some aspects. And I really enjoyed that one. Yeah. Um, Haunting of Hill House, I saw. Blind Manor, I think I haven't seen yet. This other movie where that is very famous or people have seen is Doctor Sleep,
Mm,
which is also a Stephen King adaptation. It's basically the story after The Shining.
hmm. I think Gerald's Game is also
Yes.
based on Stephen King, and it's also directed by Mike Flanagan. So
Yep. Mhm.
clearly he takes a lot of inspiration from Stephen King and
Yep.
generally from horror literature because The Haunting of Hill House I know is based on a Shirley Jackson book, and The House of Usher is based on Edgar Allan Poe. And this is just classic horror literature, gothic
And
literature.
I was doing a bit of research and preparation for this episode, and I found an interview where Mike Flanagan talked a bit about his movies, and he mentioned, yeah, well, that he adapted a lot of Stephen King's material. The first adaptation, Geralt's Game, he didn't have much contact with him, but then slowly they started getting closer. And actually, for The Life of Chuck, Stephen King asked to come to the Toronto Film Festival, where I don't know if the movie The Life of Chuck had its premiere there. I think it was last year. Yeah, Toronto Film Festival last year. And yeah, so a huge deal that he came, and apparently he also liked the movie. So yeah, good for Mike Flanagan, and he has a lot of experience doing these movies
Yeah, but also
for
all the
this
more
material.
surprising that he chose The Life of Chuck as his next film because obviously it is a Stephen King story, but it is not typical horror that is both, well, Stephen King is famous for and Mike Flanagan are both famous for. So, also, before we continue talking about The Life of Chuck,
Hmm.
there are going to be major spoilers, I believe. I don't think you can even talk about this film without spoiling it. If you don't want to be spoiled, maybe come back and listen after you've watched the film. Um, and we will continue as planned.
A couple more talking points before we get to discussing the movie. The first one is, do you have any other info on like the production of the movie or how the movie got made, or have you seen anything else?
No, I have not. I just looked into the book a little bit or the story. I don't know which word I should stick with because it's not necessarily a book, it's a novella, so it's a shorter story. I'll call it a story. So I looked into the just the tech the kind of the structure of it, and it seems like the film follows it pretty faithfully.
Mhm.
But I don't know anything about the film, the making of the film. So if you have something, go ahead.
What I found is that, like I said, it premiered last year at the Toronto Film Festival, and it didn't have a distributor by then. And it was also shot during the strike, what was it, the writer's strike? But it was allowed to continue because it was an independent movie. And later it found a distributor. I can see it here on Wikipedia. It's Neon, the distribution company. But when it first premiered, it didn't have a distribution. So
Mm.
yeah, small film. It also didn't do a lot of at the box office, probably because yeah, there wasn't a distributor.
I think it's also just very, very like the way at least also the trailer looks, you don't know what awaits you, but it seems like it's just a bunch of scenes where Tom Hiddleston is gonna dance.
Hmm.
And so you really just don't know what you're buying when you're watching this trailer. And maybe that was a little bit, well, throwing people off a little because it wasn't clear what the movie was about. Maybe that
Hmm.
was the point. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, that's what attracted me to this movie. I mean, I think, like you said, we saw the trailer in one of our um, movie going experiences, or and then yeah, what I think that's also attractive for a larger audience. It's Tom Hiddleston dancing, and the trailer, I think it's framed in a quite like optimistic light. So it's for me, it looked like a feel good movie, and I didn't know it was a Stephen King adaptation, but yeah, that's all I needed to know, or that's what got me intrigued. And then, like I said, I heard people talking about it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I famously don't care what movies are about anyway. So
Hmm.
for me, it's not about the plot. But yeah,
But
I actually was also surprised that Dario liked it quite a bit for the same
okay.
reason that you chose it for, that it's a feel good film. And
Hmm.
yeah, we
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Can we reveal anything about the plot for people who haven't seen it yet? And maybe would you recommend this movie?
Um, yes, we can definitely try. Whether we can or cannot, that's not up to me to judge, I guess. But um, my goodness, it's hard actually.
Yeah, it's difficult, right?
If you just put it in very simple, minimal words. It's a feel-good film that talks about profound things and will probably provoke some emotions in you. And
Hmm.
definitely will make you think about life in general, life on this planet, life of you as a person, um, life experiences, human condition in general, and that we're all infinite, to quote being a wallflower now. I think it's definitely up to the viewer to be in the mood for this film. um, I believe it can definitely go either way. You can either love it, you can like it, you maybe some people would find it boring. I think it can do anything. Whatever you will be in the mood for, it can either deliver or not on that. Um, but I I don't know. I can see how someone can have a very profound experience watching this film. Whether that's going to be your case, that is a bit up to you. Whether
Yeah.
you are for an existential, like in the mood for an existential film.
Yeah, definitely agree with what you said. Maybe I think it's fair to say, without revealing too much, that it's a bit of a genre mix as well. Like it's a bit of a drama, a bit of a. Is it musical? I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a musical, but it has
Yeah.
some maybe some fantasy elements to it as well.
It has also, I would say it has some musical elements to it.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily musical in the classical sense, in no way, but it has some elements that are reminiscent.
Hmm. Okay, so then I guess now we can fully get into the movie. So, like Ala said, now it's spoilers ahead. So pause if you haven't seen the movie yet. Yeah. So I guess
Now you're like, yeah, well.
he he dies.
Oh my God.
Uh,
That is a way to spoil. That's like to be honest though, I don't think that it's that you have to gatekeep this for very long because even the movie doesn't. Like it becomes
yeah.
pretty clear pretty fast what's going on, or at least if you're paying attention, I don't know.
I
But
was just saying he dies as a joke because usually that's how a lot of movies end, but
that's
actually it's true in this movie. I think what I wanted to start with is that it's actually told in reverse, right? It's three acts, and it starts with the end of Chuck's life and then goes back sort of to his childhood. So I was thinking about that last night, and yeah, that makes it interesting. Like it's oh, I forgot. I think there's a literary or narrative term for this if things are like switched the right way around. Is it like chiasm or I don't remember.
it's Nolan-esque.
But yeah, that we at the film starts with his end and it ends with his sort of the beginning of his life or his childhood. So
Yeah.
it's juxtaposed, I guess, or what's the term?
I mean,
Yes,
it's just
it's
in
inverted.
reverse. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just
So
not in chronological order.
so that makes it that actually makes it interesting. Yeah, gives you something to think about. Maybe did you have like a favorite act?
I can tell you for sure that Dario told me he liked the first one the most. And
Hmm.
thinking about it, I must say I probably agree.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it necessarily has to do with anything in particular. I don't even know what it has to do with. Um, it is a bit of this existential dread, I guess, and the crisis that people find themselves in, and sometimes even we think we find ourselves in, considering the state of the world nowadays for us in 2025. So maybe it is that. Maybe it is also the actors and the relationship between the characters there, because I feel like the other acts don't go in depth with the relationships between people, or at least it does, but but not the same type of relationship. So it's not that deep connection that these people share in the beginning. Um, yeah, I think probably that. And also you have just a bunch of characters. So if we go a little bit, if we start with discussing Act 1 or Act 3, I don't which one is it? Because I think it starts with Act 3 because it's
Yeah.
technically the last part, right?
Yeah.
So if we go in depth with it, I think what is also important it has a bunch of different characters. You have very small characters that appear that are there for a minute, and then there's a discussion, and it just provokes thought in you. And also, what I think is thought-provoking in that act is the fact that the world is ending, but people don't want to accept it, and they still go to work. And
Mm.
I thought, why would people do that? Why would you
Hmm.
want to do this? Because he still continues to like grade the essays or check homework and all
Hmm.
that stuff, although you know that we probably don't have that long. And that
Yeah.
was kind of also interesting to think about and to watch.
Yeah, I would agree with you guys that I probably enjoyed the third act or the beginning of the movie the most. And I think it's in part because yeah, it's very relatable. Like maybe it's the most up to date part of the movie. And yeah, the world ending feels like what's the word I'm looking for? Very like a present thing.
Mhm.
And I also liked a bit the evolution of the events, like because I think first hits. Well, I don't even remember what the first thing is that happens. That
It's, I think first, the first thing that gets mentioned are the earthquakes.
yeah, it's earthquakes. Then it's like I don't know if it's
Then it's
wildfires. Then
Pornhub.
sorry,
Then it's Pornhub.
Pornhub going down or what?
Yeah, that
Yeah, I
gets
think there's a
mentioned as
line.
well.
Yeah, and then the internet goes down, and then what else? Then the phones, and then the what's next? I think radio and TV and so
Mhm.
forth. Huh?
And so
And
while this is all happening, um, the character that we follow in Act 3 kind of starts increasingly seeing a lot of this ad thanking Chuck for great 39 great years, and whoever he asks doesn't have any clue who Chuck is.
yeah, yeah, this character is Marty Anderson, and he is played by Chiwetel Ejiofor. I hope I didn't butcher his name. Yeah, and that's who we follow for this third act. And yeah, that was a bit of the fantasy element I was talking about before, that every type of technology is going down, but we still see these ads showing, yeah, thank you, Chuck, for these amazing 39 years. And it's not clear who Chuck is or why he's important or how he has the money to run this ad at this time. So that's sort of like the fantasy element of it. I think we also follow Marty Anderson's partner or ex-partner,
Ex-wife,
who
yeah.
was called Felicia Gordon and is played by Karen Gillan.
Gillen.
Gillan, thank you. I think they have a couple of phone conversations where they, yeah, basically talk about the world or their relationship because they didn't talk for a while because they separated, I guess, and then they start talking about their relationship and how they still, so there are still a lot of common points between them, or they still remember how they behaved in certain situations, and then they talk a bit about the world's end and what that means and how they react.
Hmm.
And I think the third act plants this idea about sort of one moment containing many moments, or yeah, one world containing many, many worlds. which is later referenced, I think, in the second, no, in the first act.
I think there are two ideas that kind of follow you in any act of the film. First is I contain multitudes, which is a line from Walt Whitman that is also there's a scene where this line gets recited during a class. And another line that people say, I think also in every act of the film, is the worst thing is the waiting. That's
Mhm.
what they are saying in the beginning in the third act when they are talking about the ending of the world, saying that the worst thing about it is waiting when it finally ends. And I mean, it, it makes sense that it gets also referenced in the other acts because that's, I guess, the main idea and just the idea of death in general.
Yeah, so the waiting for death is actually a good point because that's one way we see people reacting to this world's end, for lack of a better word. But the other thing is that you mentioned some people just continue with their daily routines, and I think that's a very human reaction. Everything is going sideways or south, and people stick to their routines to retain a sense of normalcy. For me, I think what I could relate with a bit is like I think we can all do this is relate this a bit to the pandemic, right? When lots of things didn't work like we were accustomed to. And then other things like other people maybe, like you said, do something completely different more towards the event. Don't we see like some of the neighbors like walking to like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
somewhere?
Yeah, I mean that, and also in the beginning when Marty, the character that we follow, has his parent-teacher meetings, he
Hmm.
talks to some parents, and we get to see um the world through their eyes, I guess, a little bit, because in the very beginning, I don't think we understand what's going on. It's not as clear yet that this is what's happening. There are just some um, natural disasters that are going on, but we don't necessarily know that they are connected to something. And so I think this is a very interesting moment when he talks to one of the parents about Pornhub and
Hmm.
the fact that his wife left him and she left the child with him, and just like those extremes that people went to just to enjoy the last moments of their life, I guess, however they wanted to do it. And also just like the fact that we get to generally see other people, just small moments that Marty shares with a few other people, talking about pretty profound things as well.
Hmm.
There is a moment where he talks to um, a character played by Matthew Lillard, and there's also another one. I now forget who this person was, but we, of course, just with like any character that we see in any act, they get referenced or included in some way in other acts. So we then get to see him somewhere else again.
You mean the mortician?
Yes, exactly, the mortician. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, so yeah, I remember specifically that talk. So that's I think towards the end of Act Three, where the lights are already going down, and then he encounters this mortician on the. I think he meets him at a street corner where he sees this a billboard of Chuck,
Mhm.
and then they get to talk a bit about Chuck, or he asks him about Chuck, and then they decide to walk together to the next neighborhood where Marty's partner lives. And yeah, on the way to talk a bit about, yeah, from what I remember, it's also a bit about numbers and statistics, and I think also a bit about literature. It's a bit philosophical, I would say. But yeah, and that's actually the conversation I was referencing at the beginning. Like I could totally see Dario talking to this mortician or engaging in sort of a conversation. But I think we all do have these moments where we are somewhere like on a trip or I don't know, doing like a day trip or something, and then we talk to just a random stranger, and sometimes these conversations can get really deep because you uh, are also a bit freer, if you will, huh? Or sometimes you talk
I
about a
also
neighbor and
think, yeah, I also think it's just important to show these moments to even um, let the story unfold even more, because eventually the story itself is about the fact that every person contains a whole universe and they inhabit this universe with whatever ideas or people that they encounter. And that's just, again, I think it's important to show it through those little side characters that this is exactly the case also for other people. It's not just you, but everybody is that. And that's just, I think, shown very nicely
Mhm.
in especially in Act Three, also in Act Two in a lot of ways, because I think that's how we kind of get to the story, how the story starts unfolding is through the introduction of each player in this Act Two.
Yeah. And regarding this idea, so how I was thinking about it while I was watching the movie is that because Chuck dies in Act Three because of I think a brain tumor, and so the end of the universe is sort of tied to him, so his fate is aligned with the universe. So one way you can think about it is that you are the center of the universe or the world, and like yeah, you're like an entity which everything revolves around. uh but the other way I was just thinking about it now, that you can also think it from a perspective of like storytelling, telling like everyone has their own story and different experiences and sort of data points and their own unique perspective and vision about it. There's another way in into that story and into those people. I think what I enjoyed most about this Act Three is sort of the last scene or shot where it's Marty and Karen. I think it's at her place, and they're looking at the sky, and we can see the first. I think it's the is it like a Northern Lights type of thing, like color wise that we see. Well, I don't know. No, actually, I think I might be misremembering that, but it's definitely the stars slowly turning off.
I think it's the Milky Way that they see.
Ah, yeah, right. Thank you. But I thought that was beautiful, like how it's framed. So I think it's mostly the Milky Way makes up most of the screen, and also the music playing at that moment. Oh, I forgot about it a bit, but it's sort of yeah, sort of a bit supernatural or mystery like. For me, that transmitted the feeling perfectly. Oh wow, so something's ending, or it's scary, but at the same time, it's like, okay, what are you going to do?
Hmm.
So I thought that was a great moment. Yeah, that really hit me.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I agree. This is probably the act that I enjoyed the most in the film. Although the second act is my second favorite, probably, because it also has this atmosphere of like just living your life and just enjoying the moment. And it's such an unlikely moment for everybody in this well, all the actors, all the players of this scene, right?
Mhm.
Uh, is a very unlikely moment because they all find themselves in it. Although, I mean, what are the odds, kind of, you know?
Yeah.
So, um, the Act Two is happening 9 months before Chuck's death, and he is at a conference. He is an accountant, and he is on his lunch break, but he doesn't like to spend time with other accountants on his lunch break because that's his job. I totally understand him. And he goes out and he finds this busking drummer um, named Taylor, who is also gets introduced to us. A bit of her story gets told to us. And there is another person that is in the scene called Janice, and she has just been dumped by her boyfriend via text. So she's having a shitty day. Chuck is having a great day, it seems. He just doesn't want to hang out with his colleagues. And Taylor is, well, doesn't really have any hopes for her day because usually, I mean, she is a busking drummer. It doesn't usually happen to them that suddenly somebody just starts dancing out of the blue, I'm sure. But she doesn't seem to be inspired that day until she sees Chuck, and then
Yeah.
she is inspired.
Yeah, and I think what I remember now is that we have a voiceover of her telling us how her process work, and that usually at the beginning, so she starts getting into the rhythm, and I don't remember the exact lines, but that it takes a time to build up getting somewhere. But yeah, sort of like you said, that it's unusual that something like clicks or something is magical, but that's what happens in this moment when sort of Chuck decides to join and dance. And you mentioned at the beginning, it's a specific moment, and I think that's also talked about here in this second act, that everything seems like it leads to this moment, to this dance, and that it's something um yeah, that it's just fleeting, and that it's not permanent, and that, like you said, that it's unlikely to happen, and that's what makes it special. And it seems like everything, or it's again this thought of fate, that everything leads to this, but the chances of that happening are quite small. And then yeah, then we get the dance. I think there's in the trailer they show a bit of the dance, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm. I think that's all
But
they show. It's at least that's the way I remember it.
yeah, but I mean, it's just, I think it's amazing. Yeah.
I think the dance takes up a lot of time in this
Yeah.
film and in this act for sure. And it's actually quite amazing that this it takes so long and yet it
Mhm.
just, at least for me, it kept me locked in. I was watching it with interest. It wasn't something where you're like, yeah, yeah, I got it. Can we just please move on? Like, what's the point? That is the point, and somehow this gets transmitted to you that this is the point. Yeah, I mean that's pretty interesting how that's done. I would
Yeah.
have to go back and check because I don't know how that was done to me. What did they do?
Yeah, I would love to rewatch this. I think it's not a single shot because it's shot from different angles, but what
Mhm.
drives the scene, the dance, is the yeah, I mean the beat. And
And I
there are
mean,
also different
it's
moments in
not
the
like
dance.
a dance that is, well, okay, at some point it does get very staged like. So you
Hmm.
know that it is, I mean, it definitely, for the movie, it's been rehearsed, obviously.
Hmm.
And it's almost too good to be true for real life. So yeah, but I mean, it's okay. Like I don't mind, and it's supposed to be this beautiful moment. So that's I appreciate that it looks nice. But in the beginning, it definitely starts off as a freestyle, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I have some background on this dance. I saw that Tom Hiddleston talking about they took like many months preparing this dance, and they separately were rehearsing or practicing different types of dance, and then they also had uh, a couple of weeks to rehearse with the actress who plays the drummer. So yeah, it's I mean, huge choreography. I forget the name of its the choreographer, but great great sequence, and it takes a lot of commitment. And we're totally immersed in it, and forget everything and just are focused on that
Hmm.
joy of that dance.
And then we get to Act One. That is called I Contain Multitudes. So this is it already gets us to where we were going.
Yeah, maybe now thinking about it and discussing it with you, I think maybe the third act is the one where Mike Flanagan had his hands most in, or had maybe adapted more of the material and brought it like up to date. And maybe the first act, so the last act we see is where you can see sort of more the Stephen King types of elements with the mystery, the fantasy. And it also, I don't remember exactly, but it looks like it's like the 80s or maybe a bit, maybe even the 70s. It's when Chuck was growing up.
Hmm. I don't actually know. Does it have, it doesn't really feel like anything in particular. It doesn't necessarily want to give you the decade. It's like a bit ambiguous, I feel like.
That could probably be. I think we get some references like when Chuck is learning how to dance with his is it his yeah his grandma, and I think there were a couple of movies like is what is was it Singing in the Rain? No, but some classic musical.
Yeah, yeah, just like some um like kind of Fred Astaire type of
Yeah, I think
film,
it
yeah.
might have been Fred Astaire. Yes, that's right. And
I don't think
then
it was Fred Astaire, but
no.
I think yeah, it's just like
Fred Astaire
something
or
similar.
what's the actor from Singing with the Rain? I forget it. I always blank on names. I
That's what you have me for.
yeah.
All I
Uh,
know is
Gene
names.
Kelly is it Gene Kelly? I think right. Gene Kelly.
I have no idea about that though.
Yeah, I think it's Gene Kelly. One of those two. But yeah, that's like a reference where we can sort of date what period it is, and then the other thing is, I guess, I think later when Chuck enrolls into this dance, what's it called? Dance club. Um, he
Yeah,
also
like a
starts,
dance class, I guess that's in school,
yeah.
right? Mhm.
He also starts doing the moonwalk, which sort of hints at,
Yeah.
yeah, like sort of Michael Jackson times, although moonwalk is earlier than Michael Jackson, or he didn't invent it. And also, I guess from the technologies we see that I think we have just normal like phones, like what like landlines and I think his grandfather uses um like a normal calculator to do his the taxes and the accounting for his clients. So a little bit, you can guess it's like I don't know 70s around that time, but it's left a bit ambiguous. But I enjoyed that part quite a bit. I thought the house was amazing, and it transported me back, yeah, to another time, and I really enjoyed like the production design of that house and all the books in his grandpa's study and the kitchen as well, which is sort of the realm of his grandma. And yeah, it feels like cozy and lived in, and yeah, you forget about today's technology. And I think we talked about this before, like today everything is so white and clean and maybe a bit boring sometimes. But yeah, I enjoyed that.
You know what I just now thought about? So, third act, the a very big part of it is Chuck discovering this door that leads to the cupola of the house.
Yeah,
And the first time we see this door, with a lock on it, is in Act Three, so in the very beginning, while Marty talks to Felicia on the phone. And the way that it's shot in Act Three, is he looks at the door, we see the door, we see the lock. So it's three shots. It goes deeper and deeper. And in the beginning, I was kind of annoyed with it. I was like, so? Like, what's going? Yeah, okay. And I was especially annoyed with the fact that they zoomed in on the lock because it's like, yeah, I got it. I saw it. You don't have to zoom
hmm
in. But actually now, I thought about it, and I think considering that it's happening pretty much right before Chuck's death. So all this, let's imagine that the story of Marty really does unfold within Chuck and his imagination or whatever you want to call it. It kind of is a good moment to show the door, to think of the door, to think of the lock, and to remember what's behind it, because Chuck probably knows that he's about to die. And considering that he knows that, because he walked through that door once, so he did see what's going on and what's going to happen. It's a good moment to remind, I know what's happening. I know what's going on. Do I and the fact that maybe he doesn't want to think about it, he doesn't want to admit it, and this is kind of a way for him to, I mean, if we imagine that he is seeing the story of Marty as if we are watching this movie as well, so he is kind of enjoying somebody else's story without necessarily thinking too much about his own death. But yeah, that's just kind of what I thought just now.
That's interesting that you brought up this shot. I had forgotten about it. Do you remember any other like specific shot that caught your eye? I think in this movie, I didn't pay too much attention to the camera and the camera movement. Like maybe what I liked also is like we talked about the second act, it was the dance sequence where we had wider shots. I thought that was yeah, that was a good choice for that
I
scene.
mean, I don't remember anything very particular. The only thing that I definitely thought about several times since I watched the film was the fact that Chuck disobeys his grandfather and goes or opens the door while he is a child, like a smaller child, right? That he is, I think, 7 years old at that time, because we see him as a 7 year old. Oh no, wait. We see him as a 7 year old, as an 11 year old, and as a 17-year old during his childhood. So I think
Hmm.
he's probably 11 years old in that sequence that we see. He doesn't go through the door, but he opens it, and I think he gets scared, he gets shocked, so it's pretty clear that he did see something, but he just doesn't know what he saw yet. His grandfather definitely sees something. His grandfather saw his own death, and he first you may think that maybe Chuck got scared of his grandfather's reaction. That can also be possible.
Yeah.
But then the moment he cuts his hand on this
Yeah,
kind
this
of a
fence or
fence,
wire
yeah,
fence, yeah.
the story the storyteller, the voice that we follow, tells us that this was a moment where he was very exalted, he was very excited about the dance that he just had with
Mm,
the girl he likes at the school dance, and it was a very special moment for him, but then it gets tainted in a very well, not only in the way that he injures himself, but in some other emotional way by the fact that he gets his hand cut, and that eventually is the scar that he has on his hand that never heals. And
yeah.
so that just made me feel that the moment that we see in the end, where he goes through the door and he sees nothing at first, and then he sees a man lying, like a bedridden man, and he sees the scar as well, that's not the first moment that he saw that image, but rather it's the second, and he just already knows that that's his death.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that was something that I went back to several times since I watched the film, because it is not made super clear whether he knew in the moment he cuts his hand that that is what he saw. But I think that that's what happened.
It's like you said, it's a bit ambiguous or like we are left to guess when does he figure out what.
Hmm.
I agree with your interpretation that maybe the first time he opens it, he doesn't quite understand what he saw, and then yeah, later he figures it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also remember the door, the shot of the door. So you mentioned it in the Act Three that we sort of zoom into the door. And I remember, I think it's in the first act that there are a couple moments where we see sort of the door from very far away, and yeah, it's also lit in a sort of dark, or doesn't it have like a almost like a green glow? So yeah, and very mysterious, and that reminded me like exactly those types of mystery or horror movies, like Stephen King types of movies. Um, so yeah, that sort of a type of shot that sort of was familiar to me from other movies. Yeah, enforcing that that's a mystical door, and like
Hmm.
you said, that's how his grandpa also gets to know his future and is able to prepare his funeral later and his funeral arrangements, and doesn't leave Chuck any debt and so forth. I think the other sort of fantastical mystical element we touched upon it a bit is that the stories are, is it intertwined the correct word, but in the sense that in for example in this first act we see that Chuck's teachers are also like Marty is one of the teachers at his school, so there's a bit of a, it's achronological, no, what's I forget the word when something is out of time, so it's
Yeah, but
they
it's
appear in different
basically just
timelines.
they I mean all of those characters that we see,
Yeah,
they all appear in other places.
yeah.
I'm
So
not
that's
sure. I mean, maybe some of them don't, but I think they probably all make an
yeah.
appearance.
So that's so that adds to the sort of fantastical or mystical aspects of the film, and also reinforces this idea that everything revolves around a person or a moment, and the sort of what was it? You contain many moments.
I contain multitudes.
I contain multitudes, exactly. What I forgot, what you also made me think of. So young Chuck is played by Mike Flanagan's son, Cody
Oh,
Flanagan.
really?
I really enjoyed Benjamin Payak, who is the
Oh, yeah.
11-year-old and just kills it with the dance scenes.
I agree.
I
That was
I
great. It
also
was
could
great to
relate.
watch the guy.
Yeah, I also could relate a lot to him because, like you mentioned, when he gets to the dance with this girl, um, and then that he's almost not going for the dance, but then I
Hmm.
think his teacher tells him something, and then that's what makes him decide to go for it. So yeah, I had that in my life as well, like multiple moments where you think like, oh, if I there were like moments of hesitation where you don't take
Hmm.
one of your shots, and then I usually didn't end up taking them. But yeah, that's, I mean, that's totally relatable. That's,
Yeah.
I could see
What
myself
does
in.
she tell him? Do you
Oh, I
remember
don't
that?
remember exactly, but I guess it's, if I remember correctly, it's something along those lines again, like live in the moment, or related to the multitudes thing. Yeah, it relates to that, I think.
Hmm.
But yeah, the dance, the other dance, like the dance between the children, is also spectacular. And also Mike Flanagan's wife, Katie Siegel, plays young Chuck's teacher, who is the one who tells him about this. Did you say Walt Whitman poem or
Yeah,
story? Yeah.
it's a poem, yeah. Yeah, I think it's just the idea is definitely very interesting. I think you can also almost imagine that the third act is almost like a dream. And the
Hmm.
reason why I would think that is because, well, obviously in Act Two and Act Three, or in Act Two and Act One, we get to see real life of Chuck. And we follow his, I mean, almost a biography of his in a way, right? So we see in Act Two, we see a moment from his life, and then in Act One, I will never learn. In Act One, we see a bit of like a snippet of his childhood, right? And Act Act Three seemingly doesn't have anything to do with him. He's not there, right? But I think the idea is, for example, of our dreams, is that whoever we see in our dreams, we don't invent faces. Our brain can only replicate what we saw, and so everybody we see in our dreams, even if we think that we don't know them, is somebody that we saw in real life. And that's what it makes me think of when I think of Act Three, is that maybe it is kind of a dream for Chuck. That is what he follows, and we go through it with him as well. And he may not even know that this guy's a teacher, or that he used to be a teacher in his school. But we do see him in Act Three as a teacher, right? In the same school where Chuck went to.
Yeah, I think that those are these smaller characters is sort of what connects all the
Yeah.
acts together. But yeah, maybe when I finished watching the movie, I don't know, maybe I was left a bit surprised about the ending and not in a, maybe not in a good way, or a bit disappointed that it ended. And maybe also it's
Mm.
because I feel like, or I didn't have enough of a feeling like how these three acts connect together. I still haven't quite figured out why that is. Yeah, we sort of described it a little bit that they are quite different in stages of his life and the moments that they show. I guess one of the through lines is the music, and we talked a bit about the numbers, which is how his grandpa influences him. But other than that, yeah, what do you think? Is there like any what connects these three stories?
I don't mind even if they are not connected, to be honest. I have absolutely no disappointment in in the structure, in the film in general, I would say. I mean, to be fair, I didn't have any expectations going into it, so technically I cannot be disappointed because I had no expectations. And so I enjoyed the film. I I don't know if I would rewatch it anytime soon, but I definitely had a good time while I watched it, and I didn't feel like I couldn't wait for some part of it to end, or I wasn't interested. I was fine watching all of it. I also cannot say that I had a profound experience and it made me think of such deep existential things, but then again, I mean, I guess it depends on your view of things, on whether that is a topic that you think about or not, or whether you have an opinion on it. If you have never thought about it, maybe that would be your moment where you would think about it and the movie would
Mhm.
provoke something in you. Um, I don't have, I can't really relate to what you're saying. I wouldn't say that I needed the connection between the three.
Yeah.
But then again, I would say I see enough of a connection between them that's is satisfying to me.
Mhm. Yeah, I think why I was a bit disappointed is that the setup is that sort of at the end of the movie we find out what's in the attic, right? And I guess I was expecting something like a message attached to that revelation, to seeing what's inside. But I guess the message was already shared with us, like in Act Two and One, like the line that we talked about, and that sort of fade and like sort of live in the moment. Um, but yeah, we already saw that like during Act One and Two. So at the end, it's I think the last line that Chuck has is "I understand now." Could that be? Or "I see now" or something? But coming to his realization that when he sees like the visions that he understands what,
Mhm.
yeah,
I
how his life
don't
is going to
remember
unfold.
that.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
I think, just to counter that a little bit, I think
Hmm.
in a way it's also about the courage to still live your life, although you know where it's heading.
Yeah.
Because clearly the guy had a good life. Like he just enjoyed a whole dance scene with a random woman to like on the street for a bunch of people to see and enjoy. I mean, this guy clearly knows how to live his life. Like, it seems like he does take a moment to, you know, do something that maybe that is also reminiscent maybe of the scene at the school dance, because it's like, would you regret if you didn't do it?
Yeah,
It's like seize the moment kind of thing, you know? And
exactly.
so I think that is maybe you kind of have to, I think the film probably already has answers to any kind of question, but you just shouldn't look for them further. You should just go back. Like maybe you should,
Yeah.
what would be an interesting exercise is to watch this film in a different order and see if you get somewhere with that order.
Hmm.
Um, because I feel like some things are talked about in the beginning that can mean something to you only in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a good point. To put it in other words, what you mentioned is like it's a bit about fate versus free will. Chuck knows what's going to happen to him, but he still decides to
Hmm.
live his life to the fullest. So I think that's, yeah, I think you hit the nail there. That's probably one of the important aspects of the movie. Yeah, I really, even though maybe I was expecting like a message at the end, but I really did enjoy the shot of the attic and the light, and that's actually that surprised me a bit that that was the last shot because I was expecting something more. I guess
Hmm.
that's a positive thing about the movie, but I was a bit shocked. Oh, it ends here. That was
Hmm.
a bit sudden. So the last moment is the reveal of the attic. And I really liked how that attic looked and how the light falls through the window. And yeah, that also a magical scene. It would be great, like as a wallpaper or background. Yeah. Any other closing thoughts about the life of Chuck? I mean, I think it's great what you said, the exercise of watching it in chronological order, like one, two, three. That would be a great exercise.
Yeah, and maybe that I would actually do. Plus, the movie is not super long. Like, thankfully, it's not one of those 3-hour movies that still await us in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that at least is speaks for it and speaks for rewatching it. And I mean, it probably is a good rewatch film too, because there's probably some details that you might have overlooked in on the first watch.
Yeah, I also think like what you mentioned at the beginning, like the moods which you have getting into this movie, I think it's quite crucial. And I think maybe if I rewatch this at some later points during my life or with a different mood, then I will have a totally different experience and maybe will enjoy other parts of the movie more.
Hmm. I must say though, like the mood that we were going it into it with, we didn't really expect anything. We didn't want anything heavy. And that is actually interesting because it left me feeling peaceful. I didn't feel any existential dread from it. So,
Mm.
but then again, maybe some other people would have a different experience
No,
because it
totally
does speak
peaceful.
about very heavy themes as well.
No, but peaceful is a good moment or like, yeah, inner peace in the sense of I had that like we discussed it like when the world was ending, like, okay, what are you going to do? And like coming to that Zen state and maybe at the end of the movie as well, like, okay, you made that realization that live your life to the fullest and seize the moment and yeah, it's and that abrupt ending maybe also transmits that feeling to me like, oh, it ended, oh, okay. And then stay with that feeling of okay, like sort of wonderment or surprise, if you will.
Hmm.
I also enjoyed the movie and recommend. I should give it another chance sometime to see if I have a different experience.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm still looking forward to other things that Mike Flanagan does. Yeah, Mike Flanagan mostly. I mean, Tom Hiddleston is huge, so we will see tons of stuff from him. But and Chiwetel Ejiofor and Karen Gillan. So I think that those are our thoughts for the
That's a
life of
wrap.
Chuck. That's a wrap.
Yes.
So thanks for listening. Leave us some comments if you have seen the movie. It's been out for a while now. And that's all. Then I'll leave you with bees, bees, bees.
It's still not the right quote.
It's still not the right quote, but I'll leave
But
it at
that's
that.
just the quote we're using. That's our quote now.
Yeah, until I find a better quote.
All right. Well, catch you next time. Bye.